Hello. Welcome to the Emo Nite Radio program.
That's the official title of this?
I don't know what it is. It's just Emo Nite. It's Emo Nite Radio.
Emo Nite Radio.
This is three guys on a couch.
We start with a moment of silence. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here now more than ever.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Now we're here.
Yeah.
And we never start with a moment of silence.
Jesus Christ.
Scott,
for us.
Tyson, Izzy,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us on nobody knows, but it's Friday at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Thanks for making it happen this early for us. We all have these like bizarrely fractured schedules. We're all like Scott flew in from Austin last night or day before. Izzy just got back from Indonesia, and I work in the basement, so I never know what time it is.
It was incredibly difficult for you to get here.
It was hardest for me, yes.
Yeah, you came from Indonesia
I was out there. Yeah.
to come here. Thank you
Yeah.
so much
Yeah. So I'm glad to be back.
for this specifically.
Yeah.
Totally.
What were you doing in Indonesia?
No, I was just out there playing a quick little festival.
Yeah, so I want to know how long have you guys known each other? Because this is and I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
How long have you known each other? Let's do that.
Probably like 12 years. It's been a while.
We first met on this Taking Back Sunday All-American Rejects co-headlining tour.
Yeah. 2009.
Izzy and Scott had been with us maybe for a year by that point, maybe a year, 2 years.
No,
Was
I
it
wasn't.
longer?
I wasn't
So I was
on
right
that
after
tour.
that.
I was after.
Okay. Oh, that's even cooler.
Y'all met in like 2009, and then
Wow.
I met Ty in 2011,
Prime time.
and then I met Izzy like at a Reject show. 'Cause
Yeah.
I play keys for Rejects as well.
Yeah.
And,
And then we all kind of became buds like that, just like off to the side, not really doing music stuff, just like hanging out.
Yeah, which is like I think a better way to. I don't know. You're in this just as much as we are, as far as just the crossover of work and music, and it really can feel like it's funny. They don't really tell you that music can begin to feel like a job when it's something that you work on every day. I mean, what are you going to Zook in like 5 minutes to go do a DJ set? You know, it's not just all sunshine and rainbows and like everybody sleeps on the same gigantic sleeping bag every night.
I think that's a really, really great way to put it, because I mean, like, just what we were talking about last time, like coming in here, like this is fun I love doing this. This is when I'm in it. This is some of my favorite shit in the entire world. We can swear, by the way. So this is, yeah. So everybody say one swear. But this is my favorite thing.
PP.
Okay, that's a little too much.
No, it's all right. It's
Can
all
you-
right. My
thank
bad.
you so
I'm
much.
Tyler.
But
Gross.
I know, weird, right? But this is like my favorite. But last night we had an interview, and it gets really stressful and hectic, and that's not what people see.
Yeah.
And the way that I've known you two guys for a while now, and to see you guys forming a band organically out of friendship, you can tell when you listen to the songs, right? Like you can tell when you have 3 singles out right now, right?
Nice. Yeah, we got 3 of them out so far. Yeah, testing the waters.
How's it going?
Good, man. Like honestly, I don't know. This is great because I'm in a band with 2 guys who have never like been faces for a band. And watching them developing this alongside them is like doing it for the first time because I'm doing it through their eyes. It's like showing. It's funny. My buddy's dating a young lady, and I was like, "Have you seen Beetlejuice?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, how fantastic! You get to watch her watch Beetlejuice and
Yeah.
see that for the first time in her eyes." And it's like watching. It's like basically like watching these 2 guys watch Beetlejuice for the first time.
Yeah, it's like when you're a little
Yeah.
kid and you haven't seen an airplane before, and you're like,
Yeah.
"What is that?"
It just feels it's more of a pure experience, and it feels like the first time again for me, and it's actually the first time for these guys.
Yeah,
So-
because you both of you, Izzy and Scott, you guys have played in bands forever, right?
Yeah.
Like you played in bands forever. Are you still currently playing in other people's bands and touring in other people's bands?
I am.
that's what he was in
Yeah.
Indonesia for.
Yeah.
And when you look at the art and you hear the songs, you guys all come out in it. Like, do you guys feel the same way that Tyson does about being front and center in this project?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. Like years being in a more supportive role. Izzy's like an assassin at the sideman thing, playing guitar on stage, and then I play keys for All American Rejects, but like as a side guy, and then I also like produce a lot, so always in a supportive role. And then now jumping in as like a full band member is really fun, because like, for instance, this interview, like Izzy and I, if it was like one of our regular gigs, we'd be like on the bus right now dicking around, or like at Taco Bell or whatever, you know.
I know. I was really happy all of you guys came in.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to you. We've talked for
ad nauseum.
You know, enough of you. I really, really want to know, like, from you. You know, you guys have started a band after being in bands for so long.
Yeah.
That why did you start this band? And moving forward, like, how is it going to be different than what you guys have been doing so far? I can tell, because I've, you know, at least from the 3 songs, but for everybody that either hasn't heard or will hear after this, I want you guys to give a really good explanation of what you guys are doing.
Cool. I mean, it does feel very new and exciting. It's something that I've kind of witnessed from the side. So I've seen like, oh, one day if I'm ever in that role, this is what I was going to do. So now it's like, cool, it's here. This is how I'm presenting things. And it's the first time that my taste and style have been elevated to like bring in what you want. Everyone kind of is come as you are, bring what you want. And then by us doing that, it was just us kind of falling into these roles that we naturally would do. But then in the context of the music, it's not just me coming in and playing a guitar part and then leaving. It's like, okay, cool. Well, now maybe we can do these kinds of drum beats and let's move with this. And Scott's like, well, these vocal arrangements, and Tyson's doing lyrics that might feel a little bit different to what has been the norm for so long. And so with the change, it brings a growth, I think, for everyone, where we're all elevating each other in a way that isn't just kind of step out there, play a show, and cool,
do the
it's
thing
fun.
and leave.
It really feels like building a little family, a community of like-minded people that feels a little bit more like high school band days. Like it's kind of starting over from the beginning in every incredible way, where you can't really go backwards once you're doing it. Once you've an established band that's kind of made your mark, it's hard to really walk it back. So this is a way that we can start from the beginning in something that feels aligned with who we all are. That's kind of always the point, is just following our guts and doing what feels right. And then being able to be a face of it is really exciting and a lot of fun to, I don't know, give of myself in ways that I haven't really before.
Remember when I asked explain this, and then you explained it incredibly well? When I was like, just tell me about this, and then you did the exact thing that I asked, and nobody went off on a tangent.
So articulate.
Yeah, it was really, really, really wonderful. So when you guys are writing songs, is everybody putting in equal parts? Are you bringing parts to, or is somebody bringing more parts, or are you sitting in a studio doing this?
It's just like free, man. That's the best way I could say it. Like sometimes Scott, it's based on availability too. Scotty and Izzy, there was one time they got together to write for a session, and they spit out like 4 or 5 starts for songs or just ideas. Basically, Izzy riffing and Scotty building like a quick drum loop and maybe some accompaniment, and then they just send it to me, and I'm in Vegas, with COVID and locked up in a hotel room. And like the 2 days later, I got 3 sort of additions to those 3 parts, and it's just super organic. Whereas I feel like, I don't know, in the past, or even just the way the music business has become so calculated with songwriters, it's like this giant, I don't know. It's like The Blob, the movie The Blob.
Yes.
Where the Blob is not violent. The Blob is actually not. It's a sentient being, but it's not. It just rolls over people and consumes them, and it's not attacking. It's just absorbing. And I feel like writing songs, the way that it's become so homogenized and streamlined for a lot of the process. I'm not saying that there's not magic out there. I'm just saying the bands I grew up wrote their songs.
Right.
The bands I grew up with had their internal process that was so sacred to themselves that is why I That is the question I didn't know that was answered by saying, oh, this is why you love this band, because they are the pure reason why you love the Pixies, because the fucking Pixies wrote their songs. And if Frank Black came in with a start for a song, it was felt out right on the floor with Kim and everybody right there, and it was like, boom, this is alive. Like what we love about hearing these stories about the Brown Sugar sessions with the Rolling Stones. When they switch parts just to write Paint It Black, they're like, here, why don't you play drums, Mick? Why don't you play guitar, Ron? It's like, what the fuck? Like, it was just about the joy of creating together and not necessarily needing some third party that kind of puts, man, I've done these things where it turns into like a bit of a McDonald's.
That's what I was going to ask you guys, is because like you have been doing this for so long. Is there parts of you that you're like, when you're writing, you're like, well, I have to make it because to sound like, and then reel it back, because it's like, you know what people are going to be like, you should change it to this to make it sound like this. You should change this lyric to sound like this because it'll sell, it'll do better. You guys have complete control over this.
Yeah, that's the point of this band, is to totally get away from that, because we've been in those situations before where, and not to like totally knock those situations, because sometimes it can be great.
Yeah. Some of it's good.
Yeah, some of it's great. But we wanted something that was just like totally for us. And we kind of like, it's kind of great to like call the shots. It's all our fault, and we get to present it how we want to. We get to say what we want to say, and it's a fucking lot of fun.
Yeah, with that risk, you're taking the responsibility of it.
Yeah.
I mean, now you can bounce things from you guys instead of somebody being like, you should do this because of this. Look, we run into that all of the time, and then guess what happens? It turns into something I don't like.
Saccharine garbage, yes. And God forbid, you're actually influencing a culture that doesn't know anything but that, which I think is dangerous for the progression of art as a whole.
In general, right?
Yes.
Like if you're putting out things that people look up to and they take that as art, that is dangerous.
Yeah. Yes, and we're in even a more dangerous time where the brand itself could sell Bibles to a church. Like it's a frightening amount of power that some of these brands, also known as artists and celebrities, have to be able to say, this is cool. You don't even have to, I mean, they're going to turn it up and you can digest it and it will be good just because it's coming from this source. Like, that's a scary point that we are at in American history, I think, where the source, we trust the source no matter what it is, as long as it's continuing to feed us content, because we just want to consume it. So like, yeah, before I get on a tirade
honestly,
about that.
I like it because I
scary.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And when I was listening to these songs, honestly, that is the truth. When I was listening to these songs, I was like, I wonder if somebody was like, do this because you've got these people in this and they know how to do this and they know the A, B, and C and how to get from here to there. And I was like, I was wondering, because their songs are fucking awesome.
Thanks,
like they're great
Thanks,
songs.
man.
I can tell like I can tell because I think we're all probably around the same age. So I can tell the influences of what you guys are putting in there.
Yeah.
But if you had to describe this music to anybody who hasn't heard it, like how would you? Because to me, these are great pop songs. That's the way that I would describe it.
Definitely.
I don't think that there's really, unless me being in the band and seeing how they're written, I don't think that I could describe it in any way, but they're really great pop songs.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah,
Thanks.
that's how they were.
Exactly.
I feel
what
like
it
that's how
is.
we're trying to throw them. New wave pop.
Yeah. And in a way, I guess where in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, pop music wasn't too much of a dirty word. It was very cool to like pop music in a lot of circles, and like, you know, Kate Bush is pop music, but it's not, but it is.
But
it's
it is.
whatever's popular in the moment, and Peter Gabriel and stuff like that, where it might not feel like a bad word. It's trying to make it where it's all of us can like the same thing.
Popular music
fun,
was where that was reduced from, and it's like you think Nirvana at some point was pop
Literally
music,
pop.
bro.
Anything that people like in
that space,
is pop music. You know, we just made something that said like, you can say emo now, because it used to be such a bad.
That was
Well,
very
so many
frustrating.
bands hated that
word.
label, right? I'm sure when you guys came out, like you guys probably got some grief from people. It's funny. I remember
We still get it.
dude. I remember we were doing some tour with Dashboard, and I was like, hey, we should like ask Emo Nite if they want to like maybe like partner up with us for like the tour announce, because we were doing a tour with Rejects and Dashboard. And he's like, nah, man, that's not really my thing.
I know, dude.
And I was like, dude, you are the father of emo.
All of this stuff, and and now
own that shit,
dude. Then it's an okay
and he
thing.
does now.
He does now.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
And now it's a really, I think it's part of growing up. Also, being able to accept this is what we are, this is what we like, and I'm not really afraid of what other people are gonna fucking say about it. And that's the way that I feel like this band is. That's the way that I listening to it, that's the way that I interpret it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are like, we're doing this. This is what we like. This is cool. It's okay.
If you guys want to get on board, cool. If not, this is what we're gonna be doing. There's not really any rhyme or reason to it. In fact, we put limitations on ourselves on purpose sometimes, like he was saying, like, hey, we're just gonna try to write a song in 5 minutes. Let's see what happens. And it might work, it might not, but some of those turned out to be songs on the record. And it's just like, with all of the things that we know and that we've done before, we do have, I think, a moral compass or an oral compass of what we like, but it doesn't ever have to be like, oh, well, this is going to make a TikTok-y thing and whatever. It's just like, if we like it and it's cool and all of us dig it, then that wins. That's the good idea.
That is correct, as we say.
It really comes
correct.
out. You guys are like, we don't have to make a 3-minute song. It has to be like exactly this. Mm-hmm. I really like that you guys go in and be like, let's write a song in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this, like song challenges.
Yeah.
Dude, honestly, it sounds, I grew up playing in bands that never went anywhere, but it was the most fun I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was the most fun I've ever had playing and writing with my friends. And I'm interested to see, like, what, after these 3 songs, what the next progression is for you guys. Like, is it going to be a little bit more experimental? Is it going to be like, do you know what you have coming up, or are you just releasing as you write?
No, we're this is all a part of a record that, the first 3 songs were part of this record that we're putting out on March 17th called The Creatrix. And the next song that we're going to offer with the release of the record is called Tragedy, and I think it's probably our favorite song on the record, as far as just being really like the essence of what the band is in this iteration of this record. And so for the next thing, it's funny, I'm already talking about, I was like, we got to go. Like, we have this song called She's So Handsome that's behind this record, that I wrote for my friend Mason, who we got, they're on the song. And it's like, definitely, it's funny, we kept it off the record, I think for a reason, because it's definitely a step in an evolutionary way for us into like more of, I don't know, that sort of like funky art rock Devo kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely feels like it's going like a little bit further into a land of weird. And even this video that we did for Tragedy, man, like, we just finished it with this great director, Nas. It's the craziest shit. Like, it's funny, if you watch all the videos that we released so far, they're kind of, the first one you're like, oh yeah, this feels like the comfortable land that maybe even I left feeling comfortable to approach music video wise. And then the next one, we did like this kind of lyric video for a song called Heart to Heart. Then the third one was just this out claymation,
which was fucking,
which you guys put love on, dude. We loved it. And then that is really the downbeat beginning of like our weird. Like, once everything after this, I think we're finally embracing the fact that we are the children that are now, it's funny, now we were the guys who were just weirdos at a young age, and now weirdos have been embraced by culture and are not only accepted but celebrated, and it's such a beautiful moment in time to be like an elder weirdo.
Dude, you know what you were saying earlier, right? Like, how we do have like the Blob, right? But we also have that point as well.
Absolutely.
Where there are positives and negatives to the technological advance of where we're living. I don't necessarily like it all the time, and in fact, I kind of hate it most of the time. But when I get to sit down with you guys and be like, you are successful at what you do, you know how to, and you're like willing to do that as adults and go back to it, it kind of revives me to be like, oh yeah, I forgot that I can be what I like and do the things that I like to do, and it's an okay thing to do, and not worry about being judged by what I'm going to be put out. And I think it's really, really special. That's why I like this band, because it reminds me of being in a band. It reminds me of hanging out with my friends. It reminds me of when I was as mature and as, as successful at being in bands as you are. It reminds me of when I was a little kid, which is a weird thing.
It's fun.
That's amazing, because that's
great.
exactly what we were going for. That's exactly what we needed in that moment. Is we were like so sick of the fucking hamster wheel, of the industry, and we were just like, we want to go back to that feeling of being fucking 14 and playing your guitar in your bedroom and not giving a shit.
I asked this question. Like, we have a Discord, and every morning we'll ask like some wacky question, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys had to say about this. Besides the music of being in our teens, what's a nostalgic factor for you? Like, when I go into a mall, I'm like, oh, I feel like that. Or, like,
I feel old.
Where I just
or displaced.
I remember the fingering corner in the mall. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, that's like what I remember.
Was it in the racing game where you have the curtains, or like the Jurassic Park game?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like right next to Wild Buck Hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, but like there's like some things that like I can smell, like Nautica. Mm-hmm. Like if I smell Nautica, I'm instantly transformed back to that
you
place.
walk in that Anchor Blue, and it's just like, what?
Like the entrance to a Hollister brings me more joy than most things. And I'd be, like when I was listening to this, your guys' songs, I really kind of felt one of those things.
That's cool.
It's drenched in nostalgia as like a.
For sure.
For me, I can say as a bit of a blanket, as somebody that openly loves nostalgia like deeply and very specifically in a lot of ways, like that late 80s, early 90s sound, there's a lot of things that went extinct for no reason other than it wasn't cool anymore. Like grunge took over, and so we don't use that kind of reverb, or we don't play that kind of sound on the guitar anymore. And that's the stuff that I grew up loving. That like there's certain guitar sounds that I shouldn't say no one, but it wasn't really too popular until a few years ago, where, it sounds 80s. And then Stranger Things makes a soundtrack and people are like, I love that. That's cool. 80s is cool now. It's like, wow, that was something that I was so ashamed of and embarrassed for liking for so long, for liking a 90s pop song. Well, it really wasn't cool for so long, but to be able to just wear those influences proudly and just say, this is what I think the music should sound like. I think that's always what it was. It's what we think the song should sound like, and servicing the music only, rather than it being like, well, we didn't play this old vintage Telecaster on. It was just whatever we had in the moment. There's a lot of parts where we just used whatever was around, for better or worse. There's hum, and there's clicks, and there's the fan from whatever room. It's like it never was in a recording studio. It always was just in the bedroom of wherever we were.
And no offense to guitar players out there, but also offense to guitar players out there. When I was listening to the songs, I was like, it was a noticeable, like, you're like a music nerd.
He's a guitar god.
Yeah, like
he's the front man of this band.
That's
the thing that I loved about that offering. I'm so glad you could hear it, because it's
he is.
We stand in Izzy's shadow and are blessed by his light.
It is really one of those things that I never pick up unless it's like a Pantera riff, right? You have to be so far above in guitar for me to be like, but I don't know if it's because I know you, or I don't know if it's because I was listening to it and at a time where I was like, this is great, but I really picked up on the guitar. Again, no offense to guitar players, but also offense to guitar players, because I don't normally, it's not normally something that I gravitate to.
Yeah. I remember consciously going, like, we found ourselves in this band as we wrote. So I remember, there was a moment for a guitar solo, and I remember just coaxing him, going, shred, dude. Don't be afraid. There's such a disgusting thing about people that shred openly and overtly and like just shredding their nut all over. Like that's dirty to me. He loves it though, I'm sure, like Satriani and shit like that. But I think in pop music there is a tasteful amount of shred that you're allowed, and Izzy like walks up to that and he presses that threshold. But it's so melodic that you're almost, it's a disguise. He's disguising these awesome shreds in luscious melody, and he pulls it off, and it makes it this experience where you're like, oh fuck, that's a guitar, man. Like where instead of, I never noticed the guitar in music. Like it's always an accompanying thing and a voice. Izzy makes it stand out on this record in a way that makes it feel like, oh, like at least for me, that this is what I've been like missing about where a guitar is supposed to be placed.
And for me, and for me,
I love that.
I also think that was one of the nicest things that you could say about somebody. That was such a good. Okay, now you say something nice about Scott.
Okay, and so for your birthday,
bring it on.
Yeah, no, but it's truly it is the fact that it's all three of us, because I couldn't do this without Tyson's coaxing, and I couldn't put the sounds all together without Scott's organization and grand vision of being able to see something zoomed out, because I'll get frustrated and be like, it's not good enough, and you're like, oh no, it's okay. Like understanding the therapist mind and the producer brain, it's like every single part of what we do is all elevated by the other person's thing, whereas I feel like I've tried to do this before, but it's never succeeded because the other players weren't the right matches.
Totally.
And so in something where Tyson might be just like, oh, just make it this more creative thing, I can understand what that is. But if it was just him and I trying to do that, it might cause me to be a little bit frustrated because I don't know where to go. So having Scott to be able to be like, hey, actually take it here. We're cooking. It's like, great. Like no one has to do too much. Everyone's just doing their favorite stuff. So to have that be the presentation, I'm just like, okay, cool, great. I get to just be me, and no one's mad about that. We're encouraging it.
I don't think that there's anything more valuable than a great partnership.
Yeah.
And to have three people doing it. That's, I think, the craziest thing from my experience throughout this process is to have everyone to not only be complimentary, but also necessary in order to make the thing.
Yeah.
In any creative endeavor, to have three people, three heads, three minds. It's always the Coen brothers. It's the Duffy brothers. It's two people. And for some reason, they're mostly related. But this is like the interesting thing is I've never been in a band where everybody contributes and nobody's stepping on each other's toes, and it's a flow and you can find it, because usually there's an ego in the room. There's an ego in the room, and the ego is what kills art, because you're considering yourself immediately when this is a selfless endeavor.
Do you guys' other bands, are they jealous of like what you guys are doing? Like, and it's like a real question. Do they like
Everybody's supportive.
Really?
Yeah.
Super supportive.
Yeah.
I think it's just so singular for our experience that, I mean, it's, and dare I say it, I mean, my thing's in a time capsule, man. Like the music is there, and it has been written. So this is the new. It's funny. I say like, oh, my new band now more than ever. Like, new band. What about the All American Rejects? I was like, yes, that's my old band, and they're still playing. But it's really funny that people have such a hard understanding to define, like, well, new is growth, and old is not something you're like kicking to the side. I have an old pair of shoes that I wear all the time, and I fucking love them. Nothing fits like those old shoes. But when I get a pair of fresh kicks, I feel kind of spiffy. I kind of feel new and spiffy.
What is it, a metaphor or analogy?
Yeah.
Because that's maybe one of the best ways I can think of to describe moving forward in life.
Yeah.
Like same thing. I've just worn the same thing.
You've been wearing that since
3 weeks,
and
I've literally dressed the same
Yeah.
since I've been 15.
Yeah.
I haven't changed. I have seen fashion go from that's really cool to that's really bad to back to that was really cool, and I haven't changed.
That's it.
Now people are like, you look great. And I was like, I did 20 years ago.
You're timeless now, buddy.
Yeah.
You're timeless. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing about this era we're in now. I said this to somebody else. If I took a snapshot of this like family walking on the street, like on Hollywood, it was obviously like they're ready for the tour. I could not tell you what time this is. I could not tell you what time we live in, because we are so in this era of regurgitated postmodern nostalgia celebration from every era of nostalgia, like a giant hodgepodge. But it's also waking up the timelessness of the past. Just like you said with 90s and 80s sounds and stuff like that. Kate Bush having a resurgence. Who's the songwriter on The Last of Us that just got to wake up too?
Cameron, do you know? I feel like you're smart.
You Take On Me.
It wasn't. It wasn't that.
I know who
it
you're
was
talking about.
Linda Ronstadt.
Oh yeah. Oh,
All
yeah.
right.
From
Now
Tucson, by the
she's-
way.
So-
Yeah.
I
There
have
you go.
a very funny story about Linda. I was
Go for it.
I was best friends with her nephew.
Wow.
It's a stretch.
I was in a band. But in Tucson, huge.
Tucson.
Did they carry the
It's short
Ronstadt name?
circles.
It was no, they don't.
no.
And I didn't know that, and I also
Yeah.
didn't know who Linda Ronstadt was
Sure.
when I was
Yeah,
growing up.
yeah.
I played in a progressive metal band called Fathom with him.
Let's go.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Fathom with him or just Fathom,
with
Okay.
with
him,
the
yeah.
non-Ron
Linda.
set?
yeah. It was that we used to just sit in his shed, like his parents had a shed, smoke weed, and listen to Dream Theater.
Tight.
Yeah,
we're
I know
talking.
it rocks.
How
Let's
old
go.
were you when you were smoking weed? I can't. Weed came to me so late in life that I cannot imagine. I think about being younger, and people are like, "Yeah, dude, I was smoking weed since I was 12." I was like, "How the fuck did your brain come out?
Well, I'm
How
just,
did you like
I'm
manage?"
a naturally bad kid, right? Like
course.
all of this is not natural for me. Like, there's no reason why.
You're in a big studio at Amazon
None
right
of
now.
this
you
is
yuppie.
Literally none of this is natural for me.
You know how many
I-
security guards we had to get through to get in here?
dude,
You are so protected.
I don't know why they gave me a job. I don't know why I get to do the things that I get to do. I'm a bad kid at heart. I'm a good person, bad kid. And so, I mean,
That's
probably
great. You say that.
yeah, I just naturally gravitate toward things that I shouldn't gravitate towards. So, I mean, probably like 13, 14. I mean, I know that it was that age because my parents gave my
Poor little developing brain.
my sister, I know it's stunted. I literally have arrested
lesson.
development. Because my sister got a bat mitzvah, and my parents were like, "Do you want a bar mitzvah, or do you just want to smoke weed?" And I was like, "I'll just smoke weed instead." So it had to have been.
Wow.
Let me hold on.
Weed was on the table, the dinner table.
Yeah,
at
I
your
don't
home.
think that they were just gonna ever. I think
They just handed you a sack and you're just
Bless
like,
your
maybe-
heart. They were like, bless his heart. That's what the people say that for.
I don't. Yeah, I know. I don't think that they were giving it to me. They're just like, "You're gonna do whatever
This is
you're
what's
gonna do."
happen.
Yeah.
Hey, why do you think that the nostalgia, like what you were just talking about, like why
Yeah.
do you think that right now, in all aspects of culture, why the nostalgia factor is coming back and why we feel so heavy about it?
I think it's always been around. There's always been throwbacks. I mean, if you look at like French New Wave film in the 60s, they were just throwing back to like 40s noir made in the States. In the 90s, there was some throwbacks to like, they made their own twist on like a 60s hippie thing.
Yeah.
So it's always been around for sure. I think
But it's been more sectional. It's been more like, there's the 5 kids in school that go to the thrift stores to buy the bell bottoms. Like I remember that was like people experimenting was nostalgia in my school, like in high school.
yeah.
But now it's every aspect of culture is a sequel to Back to the Future, a sequel to
Yeah, true.
Beetlejuice
true.
coming, a sequel. We're regurgitating because and you could have this argument, but for the most part, mainstream art has like hit a wall, and they're having to reach back to find. And honestly, it takes huge tent poles to move culture now. Like it takes Beyonce to bring music forward for a section of music. It takes a huge artist to lead the charge, right? I mean, I think that's the only thing moving us forward culturally is, fortunately and unfortunately, instead of it being something that is like, grunge was a movement of like comprised of like 20 bands.
Yeah.
Now movements are like singular, I think. And I think that's harder to create the giant culture around.
Do you think it's because we have so much being thrown at us all of the time, and we're kind of forced to look at everything? Because back then, it was like I don't know when the next when we're gonna have the next celebrity. Like I don't know when the next Tom Cruise is gonna happen, right? Because right now we could be walking down the halls of Amazon and be right next to a person who has more followers or more whatever that you would want to count their data analytics as people looking at them more than A-list artists when we were growing up. I don't know what it takes. When is the next Beyonce? Like, how does that happen? Like, how
You're looking at 3 Beyoncés, right?
No, it takes the machine at an early age. That's what it takes. It takes the Disney star that grows up to be the epic Miley Cyrus. It takes people that are fostered through the system, I think now. Like Sweet Chalamet was fostered even by the Oscars, by the institution of the Hollywood machine. Everyone has a champion now, and it has to be institutional. Unfortunately, even TikTok stars are the D'Amelio family were fostered from the institution of TikTok. It's not just there's no mail-in ballots anymore for celebrity. It used to be something that people have to fucking go find one zine and clip out the fucking postcard and send it in. The engagement was so analog, right? You have to lick a stamp, write the person, and hope Jerry Lee Lewis would send you an 8x10 bag.
The Killer? Jerry Lee Lewis, the Killer? That guy was a motherfucker. I love Jerry Lee Lewis. I have this Killer tattooed on me somewhere.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah, he's great. Somewhere. I don't know. It doesn't
in your
matter.
shed.
But I gotta wrap this up because we gotta get you guys out of here. But you guys have a show coming up at the Echo.
Yeah.
March 16th.
Yep. The day before we released
the one thing I wrote down.
Can we
it's
get
literally,
you to it?
yeah,
Congrats.
it's the one thing that I wrote down for this interview.
Oh, nice.
I had no other questions except for in my head. I'm very bad at dates. March
good.
16th, the Echo.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles. So
be there.
Hey,
get a ticket.
Which camera am I on? March 16th, the Echo. Now more than ever. Can we add a wink sound? Okay.
Dang. All right. I know you're catching.
Yeah, go on. And then
angles.
the following day, our song Tragedy and the record will be out into the world, man. Our baby, the Creatrix.
New music video.
Yeah.
Yeah, just all this stuff.
I can't wait, you guys. I'm really, really proud of you.
Thanks,
I'm really impressed with the band in general. I'm happy. I'm always happy to know you, Scott. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Great to meet you, man.
Now, I know I'm the best interview in the world.
Yeah, of course.
Literally, there's nobody better.
We have no reference.
Yeah, exactly.
This is our first official interview.
Is it really?
The first sit
All
down.
3 of us?
Yeah,
I guess
all of us
so,
sit down.
Now you can't do it. Don't do any more. So
No,
this is
we're
what.
done. That's it.
one
The
and
bar is
only.
high.
Hey, thank you guys so much for coming into my prison in Amazon. I really do appreciate it now more than ever. You guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Tight.